stay tuned. Wacha Ruth amalize.
Yeah. These old people, they're all 80 years and above. They go there.
Shouldn't have
And
said.
so my take is vote for people who align with your values and what you want to see in the world.
A couple of people were asking kwa comments, amona kuna new uniform.
And they want for the audience too.
Yeah, OneMicShow. Na kuna wale, the audience that wants this uniform.
Yeah.
Please tag me. And you can't tag me as at highlight and at followers. tag my name.
Okay.
So that I have a record of who wants it. But I will only give you under one condition.
There is a condition.
Yeah, there's a condition.
Yes.
There's just one condition, that you have to wear it. Not as a daily fashion statement, but or at least there has to be an intent of wearing it.
Yes.
And I will tell you events that are happening in your city. Because tuko kila pahali, for those who are not familiar, this is all regarding, this is our small form of protest for the war in Gaza. I don't even want to call it a war, because you're fighting a people who are literally defenseless, or rather you're killing people who are literally defenseless. So for those who want it, please tag my name, and I will let you know, tag my name and your city, and I will let you know an event and a date where you can wear this and you will be welcomed, and people there will not be triggered. Because I have to caution people, this thing has become a trigger to a lot of people, to a lot of pro-Zionists. I'm not gonna say, and I also wanna say that to the people who are pro-Gaza, pro-Palestinian, be very careful. It's not all Israelis who are for this kind of Zionists. It's not all Jews who are for this.
It's Zionists.
It is Zionists. The Zionists, some of them are Israeli, and some of them are European. Some of them are even African. There's Zionists.
The ICJ, Ugandan lawyer, judge.
We're going to talk about that a bit later.
Sorry.
But yeah, so just a reminder for those who want this, please tag me and let me know, and I will send it to you. And of course you have to inbox me your address.
Okay, I need to show that I have mine.
Okay, and maybe can you explain why you're not wearing it?
Yeah, because I have mine. I said I'll wear it to a protest with Ali next time.
Okay.
Because that is the condition that he gave.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Normally I don't wear scarves.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
If for Ruth, we'll let that slide. If it was Uno Mike, Ama Omosh.
Anyway, that's not fair. I think that's discrimination. Your scarf irudi pali back to sender.
Wangekula whips. Now, here's an interesting thing. Regarding these protests, the biggest one so far, I think, were the ones in DC. I've attended 2 in DC, and both of them had close to not 1, not 2, not 3, but 400,000 people. And of course, those who need evidence for this, we will share it with you. Now, when this was being reported by a lot of media houses, even media houses I like NPR, they were saying tens of thousands. Now, this 400,000 number, people are asking, how can you count 400,000 people? There are experts who know how to estimate numbers of people by looking at crowds. There's a science behind this. And the estimate was 400,000 people. It is the pro-Zionist protests were barely doing 20,000 people. And a lot of people who were going there were being bussed in, were being brought there. This one, people were coming. And another interesting thing I noticed, and actually a stat was released on this, anecdotally, my expectation was will mostly be Muslim people out there. But anecdotally, I noticed, there were many people who were not Muslim. In fact, the Jewish community, they were there so deep, and I believe these are some of the ones who come from New York, the ones who wear the hats and everything. They were there with all in support. So the stats that were given was about 40% non-Muslims who attended that protest. You know, polls currently show that about 66%, give and take, you know, I could be, you know, off a percentage or two, give and take, but 66% of Americans want a ceasefire.
100%.
Yeah, and this war in Gaza is what's showing how broken the political system in the United States is. Where there's certain issues, and this is not the first issue.
Just
there's
the
certain
US
issues.
and the West.
Correction, I don't think it's a war. Washeke said
it's a genocide.
It's a genocide.
Thank you.
Yes,
so it's not a war.
It's a genocide. And what I was saying is that I'm saying particularly because America is the one entity that has the power to turn off the lights for Israel and stop it tomorrow. So they've chosen not to do that, and it's American weapons that have been supplied to Israel that are killing, you know, like the innocent Palestinians. So America is as culpable as Israel. And the brokenness of the political system is because you have 66% of the population that supports a ceasefire, but you know, like the political system will not allow, you know, like Congress and Senate to do this, and I believe it's because they believe there will be no consequences for them not supporting what the American people have said in the polls, and that's the reason why this will become a very, very important election. Besides the presidential ticket, your local Senate race, your local congressional district, if this issue is important to you, and it should be, because
it should be.
Yes,
it should be. I just don't have hope.
It should be important to you. If this issue is that important to you, try to figure out, you know, like the local, go to vote.org and find out who's your Senate representative and who's your congressional House representative, and figure out their position on this issue. And you know, like
and your state representation too.
Yeah, so go talk with your vote. Don't just talk with your voice, but talk with your vote. I'm gonna let Ruth say one or two things about this before we proceed.
I mean, I want to have hope, honestly, I really do. But I think the choices we have on the ballot right now, it's questionable, to say the least.
An octogenarian festival.
What is that? I heard you say that.
Wordplay.
You know, good one. But
you may have to define octogenarian for some people.
Stay tuned. What are Ruth Amalusi?
Yeah. These old people, they're all 80 years and above. There you go. There.
Shouldn't have said.
So my take is vote for people who align with your values and what you want to see in the world. Unfortunately, I don't see the two people that I think are going to be on the ticket really doing any different than they are right now. There's that
on the issue on Israel.
I think this is a point we actually are going to choose the better of the two evils.
Okay.
But let me ask you a question. Even if these two people are not on the ballot, these two people are not on the ballot, which American politician is going to be there for a ceasefire in Israel, in Palestine? Let's just be realistic. It's time that narrative or that falsehood that really Israel is to be protected to do what it needs to do needs to stop, because this is something that happens across all divides. It's Republican, it's Republican, it's Democrat. All of them are going to do the same. The only difference you'll see, even if you notice politicians who are pro civil rights, even if you take a deep dive down, you'll find that most of the politicians who are pro-Palestine are actually immigrant politicians and who are new to coming up. They're politicians who you'll never say that they'll have that power to come and change the policy of how the country is. So it just gets to a point whereby it's not, let's just say it's not just a thing about this election, it's a point whereby there's some things which are supposed to be unlearned. And one of that is a history that Israel is this state whereby it was designed out of religion or whatever it is that they were doing. The realities which are supposed to be put out, that this was a colony that people have gone in and settled in an area and settling and people through non-humanitarian ways. So as much as we say, as much as we can want this as a topic for election this year, and it should be a topic of election this year, it's just that there is nobody in the political divide that I see is going to change this anytime soon. And it's not just supposed to be a topic for this election year. It's supposed to be something moving on from now. Whatever Israel is doing needs to stop completely from today moving onwards towards the future. So it's just that I believe these are topics where we have to, as a society, to start learning people to understand that there is nothing special about Israel rather than just atrocities, genocides, and all these inhumane things that they're doing, and stop the political divide or whatever it is that is hiding behind all these policies they're hiding behind to try and maintain the state of Israel. It should go. First of all, they should do a ceasefire. If they cannot do a two-state, if they cannot get into a two-state agreement, I think it's time they should figure themselves out and leave Palestine from the Palestinians.
Okay, asante sana, Mika. Now, Mika brings up some very salient points that I want us to discuss before we proceed. And very interesting point of views. Now, Mika said that there are no people in America right now in politics who can who actually support this ceasefire. There are no potential candidates, or there's literally almost no one in politics who supports, because this is bipartisan. It's both Republicans and Democrats. This one, there's no, all of them have fumbled big time on this one. I think this hurts the Democrats more because it's a party that has, always,
that's in power,
positioned, it's in power, and it's always, marketed itself as the party that cares about human rights. And all that schmiggity schmag, stealing that from Mike. But yeah, they've always marketed themselves. So I think they're the ones who this will hurt the most. And an interesting thing I did while Mika was talking, because I'm very concerned about artificial intelligence and these new tools, like Google Bird, ChatGPT. This is a live question that I asked, and I am going to paste it on the comment section so that anybody can, like ChatGPT was asking me to log in, too much work. I'm going to paste it in the comment section. Someone post the same question on ChatGPT, see if it's going to give an answer. So the question that I asked was, list members of the House and Senate who support a ceasefire and the war in Gaza by name and states where they come from. Very simple question, very non-controversial. You would think a list would pop up.
You cannot say that's...
No, it's a simple question because...
It's simple, but you cannot say it's non-controversial, though.
It's non-controversial because this is public record. It's non-controversial. When you're asking questions that cannot be verified, like exactly how many people, for example, died in Palestine. So yes, there are organizations that are verifying, but the average person has no verifying that. But this one, any average person who owns a phone with Google can get this list.
Okay, what's the question?
So the question, and I'm going to paste it, so to make your work easier. Question says, list members of the House and Senate who support a ceasefire and the war in Gaza by name and states where they're from. The response, before we go to ChatGPT, the response: the conflict in Israel and Gaza is complex and changing rapidly. If you'd like up-to-date information, try using Google search. So at least they've absolved themselves, because, I think answers that are given here, Google may be liable. So they said use a Google search. I am going to paste that question, and let the show keep flowing so that, anybody can just paste it on ChatGPT and see, what will pop up, and then you can type in Hapoko answers. What's happening. But yeah, the ones that I know who openly support a ceasefire, of course, is Rashida Tlaib from Michigan and Ilhan Omar from Minnesota. Of course, those who know, Rashida Tlaib is the only American Palestinian in Congress. And then Ilhan Omar, of course, is Somali American.
And all of them are second. Are they second? Are they first or second generation?
No, actually, Ilhan. I'm not sure about Rashida, but Ilhan grew up in a Kenyan refugee camp.
Okay, so
Ilhan spent time in a Kenyan refugee camp. So we have some connection to her. She
and
spent
that is
time
where
with
my
the Kenyan
and that is where my point was coming from. Was the only politicians who are loud enough about Palestine and have actually put in a stand about Palestine are actually not even American. The way people say like you're not real red-blooded American. So we need to. This conflict needs to end now, but for the sake of avoidance of future conflict, the lie that is Israel need to be deconstructed and changed completely.
Wow. Okay. Washekendi Rangu says American politicians on both aisles will not support ceasefire due to economics, especially being an election year, and those mega donors for both parties. I see Washeki also now knows how not to be shadow banned. He has that other spelling for Israel. Yeah, very interesting spellings. But the shadow banners are catching up with this new spelling. So you have to always come up with new spellings so that you're a step ahead of the shadow banners. Anyone who gets what ChatGPT says, please let me know.
I'll read mine and then I'll read Pablo's.
Okay.
So mine says, I don't have real-time data access or the ability to provide current political standings, including the specific support of members of the House and Senate. For the most recent information on political stances, I recommend checking official government websites, news sources, or contacting representatives directly. Wow. That is a PR statement.
Yes.
So let me go to Pablo. It says, as of my last knowledge update in January 2022, I don't have specific information on individual members of the U.S. House of Representatives of the Senate who may or may not support military actions in Gaza. Additionally, political positions and opinions can change over time. To find the most up-to-date information on this topic, I recommend checking recent news sources, official statements from representatives, or their respective official websites. Keep in mind that political stances or international conflicts can be complex and nuanced, and individual members may have varying opinions even within the same political party.
Okay. All right. Good. Was that from ChatGPT or?
That was Pablo's ChatGPT.
Okay. All right. Good. Now here's an interesting thing, real quick. We know our way around the internet, and we're able to come up with that list. So there's actually a good number of politicians, meaning members, representatives, and senators, who are actually supporting a ceasefire. And I think they need to be lauded because this is a very risky political position. Because IPAC, which is the American Israel Political Action Committee.
Yeah, it's the most powerful.
It's the most powerful, and they can kill your political career forever.
Yes,
they can shadow ban you forever, meaning you'll never be able to come back into politics. That's how powerful they are. But and by supporting the ceasefire, you're under that risk of IPAC pouring money for someone to run against you in your primary, and if you win your primary, in the general election.
The general election.
So I'm gonna start with the senators. There's a group of.
Where did you get your list from?
It's on a website called winwithoutwar.org. That's congressional support for ceasefire. So the senators, we have Senator Dick Durbin, Illinois. I don't know whether we have any Illinois listeners. Jeff Markley, Oregon, and then we have Chris Van Hollen, Maryland. So that's someone who's gonna get my money. And I'm sorry, people will say you're voting on one issue, you're voting emotionally. This is very important. Chris Van Hollen, you have my contribution. Elizabeth Warren, Massachusetts.
Yay.
I know we might have some people who are registered to vote in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
So Elizabeth Warren is also supporting that.
Yeah.
And Peter Welch from Vermont. I'm surprised not to see Bernie Sanders' name on this list because I think his position is he's been very vocal, but I don't think he's outright said that we want a ceasefire. So these are those who want a ceasefire outright, unconditionally. And then when it comes to I don't think I can even mention all of them. I can't even count them. But
anybody from Texas wants to know.
There's quite a number here. So let me look for the states that I know. Tell me the state that you want me to check, and I'll check for you. So Texas, there's Greg Casa Kazar. That's Texas District 35. I don't know where that is. And then there's Joaquin Castro. I think people know Joaquin Castro.
Yes.
That's Texas District 20. So this you can Google and find out exactly where it is.
Joaquin.
Yeah. I mean, you know, like Sibora watu wameelewa.
Joachim.
Joachim.
Semantic.
Excuse me.
Amesema vile Watanzania usema hiyo.
Wacha bandiwa sikusikia.
Bandiwa luckily is not here.
Okay, let me see. Is there any other Texas?
What about the Carolinas?
There are those Texas. Goja tumalizane na Texas. Oh, Texas, it's only those two. Okay, let's go to the Carolinas. The north one or the south one or both?
Both of them.
Any will do.
Okay, so so in North Carolina, there's Alma Adams, North Carolina District 12. Google this district to find out if you're from North Carolina, to find out exactly where this is. And then I really don't see anyone else from North Carolina. NC, Mokoapi, no, I think NC. That's the only one that you have. South Carolina, I am not seeing any.
For sure, you're not going to see Tim Scott or Nikki Haley or Nimrata.
Oh, yeah.
Nimrata.
No, Nimrata is definitely not going to be there. That's Nikki Haley. And that's her real name, by the way. Well, what are the South Carolina? I'm not seeing any South Carolina. The ones that I'm not going to read, but I'm going to share this link on the comments so that people can review it to find out. California weko wengi. You know, like there's so many. I can't I mean, I think they're like more than 20 or maybe 15 to 20 from this list, because I'm just browsing through faster. Of course, in Maryland, we have Chris Van Hollen. I don't know whether we have another one. Georgia, because I know we have some Georgia people. We have Sanford Bishop. That is Georgia District 2. And then another interesting states, Virginia, we have Dawn Bayer, Virginia District 8. Let me see any other interesting state here. California, Mkoengi, Poleni, California Star. I know there's some Missouri people here, and a lot of these Kansas City people, they don't like being told they're from Kansas because they're actually from Missouri. But that's a story for another day. There's Emmanuel Cleaver, Missouri District 5. And here we are mentioning the representatives in Congress who support a ceasefire, for those who are just joining us. And then California, we're going, I can't read. I'm trying to see any other interesting. Oh, there's another one in North Carolina, Mika. Valerie Fouché. Valerie, the spelling is Foushee. I don't want people to think this is a Nigerian. So it's Valerie Fouché. I think maybe that's how it's pronounced.
Almost.
Yeah?
Is there
I think he wanted to say Funke.
Funke.
Is there any from Arizona or New Mexico?
Let me look at the list. So far, I've not seen anyone, but interesting.
Curry Lake for sure is not there.
I see one from Florida, Maxwell Frost, Florida District 10. That's interesting. Another interesting one I see. Oh, there's another Texas. Al Green, Texas District 9. Arizona, Mika, there's Raul Grijalva. That's Grijalva. Whatever that name is. But Raul Grijalva, that's Arizona District 7. We also have another interesting state here. And look at the comments to see if anyone wants me to look at their particular state. There's Samalee in Pennsylvania. I know we do have some listeners from Pennsylvania. In Minnesota, there's Betty McCollum, Minnesota District 4. And then in Massachusetts, we have James P. McGovern, Massachusetts District 2.
That is my representative.
Okay, now
sorry.
Okay, now talk to the people who you know in that district and tell them this is the guy to give money.
Easy win.
Maryland, Kwesi Mfume, Maryland District 7. So that's another one that was expected. And then of course Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, New York District
Standard
14.
operating procedure.
Yeah, of course, Ilhan Omar, Minnesota District 5. And then, let me see another interesting. Mark Pocan, Wisconsin. I don't know whether we have Wisconsin listeners, but this is one of those states that maybe you don't expect, but Wisconsin District 2. And then Maryland, we have Jamie Raskin. I'm sure most of you are familiar with Jamie Raskin. Yes. That's Maryland District 8.
Say goes full throttle against the idiots and that committee.
Oh yeah, January 6th. Yeah, and then we have Terry Sewell, Alabama. That's interesting. You know, I never expected anyone from Alabama. And then let me see any other interesting states. Mississippi, Benny Thompson.
Yes.
Then of
J6.
Course, yeah. Then we have that's Mississippi District 2, and then we have Rashida Tlaib, Michigan District 12. Of course, that one most already know. And then there is one from New York called Paul Tonko, New York District 20. And then any other interesting Virginia, Jennifer Wexton, District 10. So, and Georgia, Nikema Williams, District 5. So, ndo hapo. Mika, here you have something to say.
Yeah, my question is this. It's, by state, it's easy because we can... how many of those congressmen or Congress people are actually Republicans and Democrats?
So actually, unfortunately, this list that I have here has not listed their party affiliations, but because people are very experts here on doing this analysis, I'm gonna share this link in the comments, and someone can do a quick, the same ChatGPT that has issues, try to find out where all these people are from and share with us that information, rather the parties, because I only shared the states because this is a bipartisan issue. It's both parties, so these people have put themselves on the line. And some people may say, they're just saying it. But when you do this, you put yourself on the line with IPAC, and they are already collecting money to take you out. So let's give them credit for that. And I'm going to post the link for those who maybe might have an interest in taking a look at it. And maybe anyone who wants to know if there's someone in the state or someone in the jurisdiction, because I think there's a lot of noise also on generally Congress not supporting this, but then there's these few voices that I think should be listened to.
See, they were saying at some point or something, they were trying to put some form of paper or something that it was mandatory to support any resolution that was pro-Israel. There's something like that was floating like in the media.
There was something, I didn't quite follow it up, but there was something that was floating at some point. I think that's something that someone in the comment maybe can tell us a bit more about it. Then I see now Pablo Oliza, he lists wale weko for against. These are the ones who are for the ceasefire. Yeah, these are the ones who are for the ceasefire. Winwithoutwar.org. And that's why it's also important to understand the limitations of these new AI tools that are available to the public now. Let's understand their limitations, and also let's understand that they're also biased. Let's not think that these things are just now open. There's also some bias baked into this.
Some?
Yeah.
Ulikuwa nafanya research this morning somewhere pertaining to asking questions, and especially I think it was in one of many forums.
Oh yeah. Actually this was on a separate issue, and I think we're going to discuss this issue when we get to the sports segment, because it was issues relating to
AFCON. Yes,
the African Cup of Nations. Very basic facts that ChatGPT was just back. I felt like giving them like a cheat sheet. Like Malawi did not qualify. Madagascar did not qualify for AFCON.
Cameroon is not the host.
And Cameroon is the host nation. And Cameroon is the host nation. Oh my goodness. Mika.
The thing is this: most people don't realize that these AI bugs, they're not search engines. They're not like Google. They're not like what do you call it? Bing. That's not what they are. Usually what they are is it's like a database. And it's a database where people input data. Like it's more of not just one source, but different source. And then there's a comparison, and it tries to give you the best answer to that question that you're asking. That is why you have to learn prompts to use when you're searching these AI-backed engines like BAD and ChatGPT. And also you have to understand that everything from them is not correct. That's why a lot of people got in trouble the first time when they came out and they were using them for work. And that is why also in the terms of in the term of tech, I don't know if you remember something to do with InfoSec. There was this guy who decided to he was given an assignment to upgrade their source code, and he put it in ChatGPT, and while he was getting what he got, he was told that, once you input something in ChatGPT, it doesn't come out. So basically their company's source code was exposed. to the internet because they put it in ChatGPT. So it's just something for people need to be careful when they're using these AI-backed search engines. They are not Google. They are not Bing. It's a database where you're throwing what you're asking, and then that database has algorithm that has been designed to search for you the best answer from those various databases and give it to you. That's why it usually gives you options of choosing of an answer. It doesn't give you one. It gives you like 3, 4, 5, 6. You choose the best version that works with you and you will go with it.
Now, Mika, we are going to schedule an episode this year where we need to go deep in this topic. That episode, you will have to be in the studio. You'll have to drive all the way from that village you're in.
From the undisclosed location.
The undisclosed village you're in.
I thought that was exclusive to Omosh.
He's in Northridge, Maine.
Well, this is a new year. You know, like
2024, new things.
By the way, you guys, have you noticed this energy in the studio today?
Good energy.
To
start. But let's hear from Omosh, because hatujamsikia Omosh. And you know, before we hear from Omosh, we're also going to be talking about taxes being loaded onto Kenyans. TB Joshua expose. My oh my.
And just a recap of summer bunnies.
Yes, summer bunnies.
Yeah.
So let's start from there.
Ruth, can you just please look at the careers?
You know, sometimes this Ruth, sometimes she amazes me.
Maze?
When she comes back from Kenya, what does she tell us? She ate mangoes. She went to a dusty place, which happens to be Shags.
Yeah.
She saw her relas.
Makweni mangoes, by the way, very sweet.
The bomb.
They're amazing.
Let me tell you a story. I drove to this year. I decided to drive to the coast. Hey, hizo maembe za Ukambani zinafanya uchelewe.
Okay.
Kila mahali unasimama unanunua.
Just say.
Why does he sound like he was eating them with honey? This guy,
they have honey.
No, I think this guy was eating them with honey. In fact, Mika umerudi na asali. I think he came back with honey. This guy.
I came back with honey, but I did not eat mango with honey.
No, I'm just saying they have honey because we also do, honey.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, I know what they're saying. I know, but
I
didn't.
maybe I'm missing the point over here.
Honey azuchu.
Oh my word. Okay, Amosh.
So you guys want me to start about the...
No. Start from, of course, like we never had a chance to talk about what we're talking about this first hour, and then we're going to get to those taxes that are being loaded onto Kenyans.
What, you want me to talk about Palestine? About Palestine? Now,
there was one thing...
See, I don't want to be inaitwaje?
Band shadow.
Shadow band.
Oh.
Please,
you see, umeona vile imetoka.
Hapo liko slow.
Yeah, please come. Because even the spelling ya ile siji Israel.
Nimeona.
Israel.
Exclamation marks.
Very slow. This thing is so bothersome because if you just look at the crux of the matter, it's like mtu amekuja Kenya, akatuhamisha, akachukua ile space pali tulikuwa, and then 10 years down the road watoto wake wanasema mutoke na muende. That's basically what's happening.
Oof.
That in a nutshell is what in fact has happened. Forget about what is happening. In a nutshell is what has happened. It's like it reminds me of those ancestral land issues we have, those of Yarelas who keep moving the fences. Like when grandpa started, the fence was 4 acres out, and now you guys, your generation, the fence has gone in 4 acres, but they are still claiming that they didn't know the land was yours, but they're the ones who keep moving the fence, and that in essence is what has happened here.
Kina Delaware and them.
It's so sad that we even are sitting down and having this conversation, and to me this. You can put this thing in the same context of our brothers in Ukraine. WhatsApp group ni same, except in this case, in one it's like you can see for sure in an invasion. Alafu kuna ile plain outright. It's me. In fact, I'll call it terrorism. The South Africans, I think, nailed it. They really nailed it, and when they called it apartheid, they nailed that thing. They hit the nail on the head. Nobody wants to talk about it. And it's
and they called it also genocide.
Correct.
And they defined it legally. It not from emotions. They're like, you want us to use the law? We will use it.
and they broke it down to what they went through.
Yeah. And actually there was whatever the ruling that was issued today, for those who have been tuned in, is not this is just a preliminary ruling. You know, like I still haven't gotten the details of it, but I think, you know, there's a slap on the wrist to Israel so far. So the actual ruling on the general, it will take a bit longer.
Yeah.
But I think South Africa, you know, like, was my second favorite country in Africa after Kenya. But after what they've shown,
Yeah.
South Africa, I mean, Kenya, I love you. But what South Africa has shown, you know, in a world where they could get cancelled diplomatically and so many things could happen, they have short sense of purpose. And they've always had a very consistent foreign policy where they're not going to be bullied. And South Africans forgive, they don't forget. They don't forget. So they've been very consistent on this issue, you know, like from the very beginning, you know, and Arafat and Nelson Mandela knew each other. And maybe for people who don't know, you know, like both Mandela and the great Bishop Desmond Tutu, those are the ones who referred to whatever is happening in Gaza as something similar to apartheid, or even, in fact, Desmond Tutu said it might even be worse. You know, so South Africa has a very, you know, a lot of depth in this, and this will just geopolitically, I mean, of course, this is something that is very risky for them, but geopolitically, it will put them in a very strong position. In the most recent rally that I attended in DC, there were so many.
You mean the rally you didn't call us from? Just
and I'm apologizing. 2 rallies have come up, and I did not notify people on time.
There was one where we were all in the country. I think most of us were here.
Nyuma tent was said.
Kwa nini nyuma tent?
But I apologize for that, because I made assumptions. Because, you know, a lot of people are so fearful. And maybe I made assumptions that, yes, maybe, you know, like there are colleagues of mine who support this cause, but then because there's a lot of fear, because we're seeing people getting fired from their jobs, because IPAC is very powerful. We're seeing people getting fired from jobs.
Give people the option to decide for themselves.
I agree with you.
Okay.
That's what I should have done. I have some very close friends of mine who, you know, like, were seeing some of the posts that I was making, and they were very polite posts. I never make any inflammatory posts, and they were like, be careful, unaweza futwa job. And I was like, if this is the reason, you know, like, why my company would fire me, that's okay.
It's worth it.
That's not the last job that personally, I don't expect that to happen, but to me, I think that's not even something that I was thinking about. So again, that was a faux pas on my part, and to make up for that, I'm gonna research every state that people who are tuned in. Please tag me and tell me the state, and I will tell you what activities, because this networking is so serious. We get daily updates, what's happening in Michigan, what's happening in Texas. Kwanza, Texas, my Texas people, that is the epicenter. DC has the biggest protests, because the DC protests have a lot of people who come from out of state here. But Texas, just the local mobilization is at another, it's at a whole different level. And Texas is also kind of like the epicenter of where, you know, like intellectual Islam from people who were born in America, the likes of Yasir Qadhi, Omar Suleiman. These are born Americans who understand the American system, and are, you know, like, high Islamic scholars who give, you know, like valid positions on what people need to do and what they don't need to do. A couple of comments coming in before we go back to Omoshfa.
Yes, I would love to make sure that you guys are part and parcel of the show. So, okay, I don't know how far I can go, because this has been a long story, but I'm just going to start somewhere.
Yeah.
I'll start with Pablo. Hii list ni ya wale wako for or against, and I think it was more for people who are for ceasefire.
Yeah.
Then actually Slade did respond, said ceasefire. Then you did share that. Pablo says, can one use Washeke's coded phrases to question ChatGPT?
We challenge you, Washeke.
Okay. Kitu sielewi, Slay, ni kwa nini watu wanalazimishwa wasimame na easy? Easy being.
Now Easy
Yeah.
Shule wa UFC.
Yes,
For those who
no.
know, they know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
AI is definitely biased. That's Washeke. Then Pablo, Easy sounds like himself packaging. Very funny. And then Washeke responds to Slay about kulazimishwa pesa. We know the truth now. You can't box society into supporting injustice. I'm going to say something about that afterwards. Maembe or maembe?
What does that mean?
I
Because
know,
your
but
maembe iko in
lakini
quotes.
kuna, there are, yeah.
Hizo zinaitwa brackets ama zinaitwaje?
These are no brackets.
It's not bodmas.
Parenthesis.
Hiyo ni bodmas.
Parenthesis.
Whatever that
Aya,
is.
people who know English, tell us what those are.
No, or
Greater
code,
than or less
or
than?
code.
Greater than or less than?
No, that's not it. Slay, or probably could be. Slay, where does Kenya stand? What do people back home think? People who just came back, please let us know. Kenya ni pro easy. Mwanike na pegs kabisa.
Kwani Omosha
Tunaongea
nifanya
jua
nini?
nini sasa?
Hapo maybe Slay confirm what we are talking about.
Slay just missed me. It's okay, Slay. See me behind the tent.
Slay says, responding to Slay's question, brainwashed Kenyans who worship in cults support Easy. They have been praying and fasting for them. This is so wild. Tumekutag twice, please share. Ali, tell me for SATX.
Yeah, so Texas, I know, like you guys are deep here. So Texas is always a default setting, like
Okay.
whenever we have anything, because our Texas people, they support us so much. I think I'm going to challenge, the crew, a show in Texas. We are planning to have one in Boston this year. I don't know if it's going to work, but we're going to talk about that later. Yeah, we're planning to have one in Boston. Remember, Boston Marathon,
April
13th.
Oh,
I don't know whether to give you leakage.
I am putting that PTO right now.
I don't know whether to give you leakage of what's going to be happening,
I don't
but I want you
care.
to stay
I'll
tuned.
be there.
Yeah, it's not just the marathon.
Okay.
There's some events.
There's always events.
There's-
It's
Remember those old
I know,
events?
yeah.
What's nice is that this recent years. Remember the old
Imerudi.
events? Yes.
Yeah.
That one that we went for, Imerudi. But I am going to give you details later on.
Alafu
Stay
bado
tuned.
kuna ile ya hao.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Ile ya
my
ile ya
word.
ile ya Sunday Vigil.
So stay tuned. We don't want to give all the details now, but stay tuned. We're going to talk about in upcoming
I am
episodes.
so excited. I'm gonna be in Massachusetts for that time.
Yeah, so
100%.
Massachusetts and I think Texas.
Okay.
Like Texas is another place where I think we really, problem Texas ni kubwa. Kuna watu wako San Antonio.
Yeah.
And even the people in Dallas. Unasikia ati someone is 55 minutes away. Ama unasikia someone is 1 hour 20. Ati someone sijui is in Fort Worth. Na mwingine sijui yuko kona gani. But they all tell you they are from Dallas.
McKinley.
So you're like, this doesn't say
McKinney.
Dallas. What is this? And
Dallas area.
when I put it on the GPS,
Dallas
it's
Fort
1 hour
Worth.
5 minutes.
Dallas Fort Worth area. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Can I-
DFW.
Kama vile
DFW.
It's a
It's
DFW.
like DMV, like
okay.
DMV.
Okay.
Can I say something? There's something I said I'll comment on it later. Someone said it's so hard right now for people to fall for the propaganda the government and the media gives, because especially Gen Z can just pick up the phone
Absolutely.
and watch what's happening
Yeah.
directly in Gaza, right? So it's this middleman people we used to use before, it's no longer there. So
Yeah.
people have access to information that's not being filtered how they want us to see it.
Yes.
And I think that is what is making this thing very in people's faces to say, and people being aware of what's happening, again, without the filter that we've received before.
Okay, good. Now, Washeke, we hear you. Texas is more than Dallas or Houston. San Antonio, you are also on our map. But to choreni map, because hey,
Austin.
yeah. Oh, kuna watu wa Austin pia hapa. Okay.
I'm just
But
saying.
that's
All right.
that's Texas, man.
Okay, okay.
Texas is big.
Okay,
Tabitha.
give us the Tabitha yuko Houston.
Oh, she's in Houston?
Yeah, she's in Houston.
Okay.
So Houston, Dallas gets much love. I know there's a lot of Kenyans now in Austin. Of course, kuna San Antonio hapa. And then there's some cities nilienda. And surprisingly, nikafindwa Kenya, a town called Lubbock.
Lubbock, yes.
Yeah. Lubbock.
Yeah, Lubbock.
in Kenya.
Yeah,
In
Lubbock
our
iko-
Kenya
iko na
kibao.
Wakenya
I
wengi
never even
sana.
knew there was a town called Lubbock
Yeah, iko na
that
Wakenya.
existed.
Town or city?
It's a small town.
Yeah,
Town.
and yeah, there's even a Kenyan restaurant
is this
there.
Is this some of these sundown Nini towns? Because like every time I hear a town,
I mean,
in
there's
the
a
south-
university there. I think the university is the major thing
Lubbock.
in the town.
Okay.
You know, so that's an interesting place. So I think maybe Texas, you know, like we need to, you know, do like
Tunaweza fanya tour kwani iko
tunaweza
nini?
kufanya tour, you
Iko
know,
nini?
like a
Yeah.
1 week vacation. Inakaa se mifuko zao zimenona. I don't know whether people have been talking to Tabitha Njeri, career expert, na ame boost masalary zao. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. Almost fire.
We work from home, we'll carry our computer and keep it moving. Kwani iko nini?
Almost fire.
Yeah, so yeah, for me this whole thing with Palestine is so emotional that sometimes, you know, you're like, what if that was us? And it was very close. We were very close to being those people,
This close.
right? So it's very, very, very emotional. And we don't have to go far. Just look at some of our neighbors, like UG, you know, like what they've gone through over the years until I guess M7 came in. But prior to that, I mean, those Jamas were refugees, pretty much, you know, Rwanda, you know, leading up to, you know, like the genocide. And then, you know, they had to, you know, set the place up after, you know, it's very, very sad that we have to actually be witnesses to this. But the thing about this new generation, our Gen Z, our Watoi, wanaona vitu. They're not being shaken. They're not being moved. You know, I guess the math is not mathing for them.
No, it's
In
not.
as much as, you know, there's this thing that the propaganda, blah, 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 SG, I don't know what, and if you say it enough times, it becomes Z.
No.
They're
That's
like,
not
no,
working for them.
we have sources. We can go to Nini, we can find out what's going on, and we see this stuff that's going on. So all these alternate facts, it's
Not
not,
working.
facting.
Not
No,
working.
it is not facting. And these guys
And the
are
media
already
is slow to catch up on that.
by the time they catch up, these chaps will have gone ahead. And remember, we had the young kids who are here.
Jide and Rehema.
Yes. And we asked them, what's going on? And they were like, hey, hii kitu, at a campus, huwa inaleta war.
Inaleta ngori.
Because we all know that this is wrong. So wale watu wanakuja na kifua and they say, oh, this, that, and the other, you can't fool these kids. They are not being fooled anymore. And that's also the same thing when it comes to politics of the day. This is an election year. Those kids are not being fooled. They're going to go out. They're going to register to vote if they haven't. And they're going to vote. And they will surprise chaps. But
What are they
anyway,
voting for?
I'm very sure, very, very sure they're not going to be voting for ule mzee wa nini.
So,
Umoja jana nikwambia ikifika kwa voting,
Go ahead.
ikifika kwa
Kwa hawa
Ikifika
watoto,
kwa
mi
voting,
naongea story ya hawa watoto. I'm not talking about us. Naongea about hawa watoto.
Unajua hata sisi tulikuwa hawa watoto at some point. We were progressive, we were seeing stuff, but then we still voted on terms of racism, we voted on terms of tribalism, and we voted based on, like, when it comes to politics, yes, we can say that it will have an impact on other people because they're seeing the atrocities that they're done. But then there's just some people who, how you've been brainwashed, normal dinner conversations, and all these also will influence a lot of things. Because if we go back in campus, as those kids say that they were fighting, they were not fighting grown-ups, they were fighting their fellow kids also.
Correct.
So just the same way that we see there are those who see atrocities, there are those who have still been brainwashed like other people, and they see how it is. That is why the media is still doing what it's trying to do, because it still has an influence, and media always has had an influence in influencing people. And as long as it knows it has a majority of that strong influence, it will continue doing it. And how many people have you seen who can see what is wrong in Israel and they would say it's still being woke, trying to say that asking for Palestinians' rights, asking for protection of Palestinians, as you say, it's right. How many people actually do believe that Palestinians are the ones who are responsible for a genocide in Israel instead of the other way around, and they are. So when it comes to politics and to voting, common sense leaves the room a lot of time.
okay, asante sana Mika. Now
I
this
think
is a topic.
Mika is biased because he lives in the south
This is a topic that we are
of Maine.
gonna keep discussing throughout the year until there's a ceasefire.